Hey guys, Chris here. I think this is gonna work. I'm gonna do a review of my new car today. Well, I mean it's still new. I mean I got it back in December, but it was a new car. I did buy it new. It's a 2023 Subaru Impreza, and the reason I was kind of messing around there was I was trying to find a good way to just to hold the camera because I did a little bit of a take before, and it slipped out. It kept slipping. So what I had to get was, I'll show you guys if I can find another one, was one of these ice cleats from my work that you put on your shoe, and I just kind of put the phone in there and stuffed it in my in this thing, like the, I don't even know what you call this, like the grab handle thing, whatever. So that's how I did that. But yeah, I got this car in early December, and it was a replacement for my old 2008 Honda Accord, which just kind of, it had its own problems. My sister needed a car anyway, so here I am in my car. I'm going to do a little bit of a review of it today. And probably the most interesting thing about this car is the fact that it has a manual transmission. And that's something I really wanted for a long time in a car, and I finally got it, which, if you had told me, or if you had told my 16-year-old self that this would have been a reality, I would have either shit myself or just not believed me. But this car is super fun to drive. I hope you guys can see me doing like shifter stuff, because the cleat thing, I hope, is not in the way. But yeah, this car's like a blast to drive. I still kind of suck at it a little bit. Like, I'm not like the smoothest, shifter guy in the world. Like, I'm not like the best at shifting, but I have it like, I don't know, like 85-90% down, I think. But there were just times where I'm like, dang, I could have done that way smoother. So here we go, coming up to this fickle intersection. Okay, now I can go. It's a stupid intersection where the green light literally lasts like maybe 5 seconds. I hate it so much. But we're gonna do a little bit of a pull here. Hope you guys could hear that. The good sound of my flat 4 with the 5-speed manual going. I remember like being taught how to drive manual. Like, I kind of did like this class, like, and the one guy, there's just something he said that I still remember to this day. It's like, this can be like as, I forgot how he said it. Like, I remember what kind of he said, but I forgot exactly how he said it. He was like, it can be as like, what the hell was the word he used? He said it can be as chill or as like opposite of chill as you want it to be. Like, I guess like what I'm trying to say is, like, one moment you could be like flooring it and like, I don't know, feel like you're, racing, and the next moment you could feel like you're just a, European, like, driving manual, like, very slowly and stuff. And that is something I actually prefer. Like, I feel like a lot of people, like, the reason they get manual cars is like, oh, I'm gonna drive so fast, and yeah. But I literally just like driving this thing slowly, and like, this is not a fast car in any way, shape, or form. Like literally. So that was just 0. Let's see how long it takes me to get up to like 40 miles an hour. And I'm going like relatively fast-ish. There, that's 40. It took a little bit of time. Like, I could have done it quicker, but it would have just been sloppier and just not as enjoyable. And like I said, this car actually has only 5 gears, which is a little bit strange for a car in 2023 to have. Most cars that are manual have 6-speed manuals. But at least according to regular car reviews, the 5-speed in this car is a little bit like slightly more enjoyable than Subaru's 6-speed, at least in the XV Crosstrek, which is what the other regular 6-speed comes in. And I know, of course, there's the Impreza WRX and WRX STI, but that was a bit out of my price range, and I didn't really want one of those anyway. Like I've always been a fan of just like regular like manual cars, like or regular like base model cars. Like they're just so much more interesting than just specced out cars, you know, like with all the options. I always have just loved like base model cars. I don't really know why. I mean, maybe I have a little bit of a bias because, you know, the Accord I was driving for the longest time was a base model, except for the automatic transmission, which was the only option in it. But, you know, this car, people tend to like, I tend to drive it a little slower, so people tend to tailgate me. So I ended up getting a funny little license plate holder that says, "Do you follow Jesus this close?" And I think that's pretty funny. I don't know about you guys, but I find it quite amusing. And as it is, somebody's following me relatively closely right now. So, and I'm literally going over the speed limit, so I don't really know what that's all about. But I mean, they say Subaru drivers they drive slower, and maybe that's true, but maybe that could be proportionally because there could be more manual Subarus than other cars. I don't really know. Ironically enough, the first car I did drive manual in was a manual Subaru Impreza. Granted, it was from like about 2000, and I drove in it only like once, but that was a few years ago. But anyway, back to this car. Like, this car is cool as shit. Like, when you turn on the, like, if you drive like late at night or early in the morning, and you turn on the headlights, everything just has this red tint to it. Like the gauges turn red, the controls, they turn red. And speaking of controls, this car, unfortunately, it has a touchscreen. Yeah, I know. You know, who would have thought that I would have a touchscreen or a car with a touchscreen. However, it redeems itself. It has volume knob and tuning knob, and skip buttons and a radio and everything other kind of button on it. And also the climate controls are knobs. If I could, I don't know if you guys can see it, but you have like these like 2000 or 90s or like 2000 style knobs, you know, like, and it's awesome. So you really don't need this touchscreen for anything, and if it ever goes, that means the only thing that goes is the radio. And that I personally don't care about, because I can just bring a little radio or something for music, you know, and sometimes it's good to be alone with your thoughts. So long as I still got my heater, and I was gonna say AC, but during the summer, I'm still probably just gonna roll down the windows like I did in the Accord. I've never been a big AC guy anyway. But yeah, I've driven since December. I've driven about 2,500 miles on this thing, and the first 500 miles were nerve-wracking, because this is the car that I basically learned manual in. Like, I did it once in the one other Subaru, like I said. Come on. People just take forever to get going sometimes. Like I said, I did it once in the other Subaru, and then I did it once in the trainer guy's car, which was a manual Ford Focus. But this is the car that I basically learned in, which, to learn in like a car that you spent a lot of money on is kind of nerve-wracking. But it definitely was like, I don't want to say a humbling experience, but it was kind of just like, it really just like put me in, not put me in check, what am I trying to say here? Like, it made me realize that like I'm not, like, I don't really have as much skill as I think I do with stuff. Like, when I bought this car, I thought that like, oh, since I played like video games with like manual cars in it, I'm gonna know this like the back of my hand, even though I've never driven it before. And that could have not been any farther from the truth. Like, when I started driving this car, like, I stalled all the freaking time, and like my shifts were rough, and like, I mean, I didn't really grind gears or anything, at least, but like, but it was not smooth starting out, like when I started driving this car. And I don't really know why, but the instructor basically told me that to launch, you don't need to use the gas. Like, you just need to slowly let the clutch out, which kind of is true. You can do it, but it makes it harder. I don't know why he didn't just tell me to like use a little bit of gas. Like, That is just one of the things that perplexes me the most. And it maybe is because the Ford Focus that he was driving in, it had like shorter gears, so like there was less like potential for it to stall maybe, which I mean, and I think that was true, because I did notice that it was a little bit harder to stall that car than it was to stall this car. But still, like, I feel like if you're teaching about like driving manual in general, then you should kind of cover like what is more generally true, which is that you need gas in first gear. You can't just do it with the clutch. And like, you know, like half the time you're literally going to stall, or literally half the time you're going to stall is what I'm trying to say. But learning how to drive this car initially was very, very kind of just nerve-wracking and scary and like annoying too. Like I would just yell at myself because I just fucking sucked at it. Basically, I would just yell at myself like, "What the fuck are you doing?" You know, like, because it was a man breaking down, like, about his own car, like just being overpowered by something that you're not familiar with. Like, I feel like this is what like old people feel like with technology. Like they just want to yell at it, and I was basically more or less yelling at technology. But once I figured out how to drive this thing, it was really good. Like I really enjoy doing it. And like I think being able to talk to you guys while doing this, like, I guess is proving a point to myself a little bit that I'm basically like 100% there almost. Because if I was first starting out like back in like December and I tried to like film this video, that would not work. Like it would not work at all. Like I'd get distracted on both ends because I'd be focusing too much on the car. But this thing is really, really good to drive. Like there are a couple things that I just don't really understand about it still. Like there are times where like I'm going down the driveway and I'm like at the end of the driveway and I'm running out of momentum because like I go in neutral, kind of like I start in reverse and then I go into neutral, like, because my driveway is like it oh, for fuck's sake, I hate downtown Bartlett. Like stupid like lights last like 5 seconds here, because there's trains half the time. And look, there's another train, like next one in like 5 minutes, or second one in 5 minutes. But yeah, like when I go down the driveway, I start in reverse, put it in neutral because it's on a slope, and then like if I can usually make it to the end of the driveway without needing to put it in reverse. But there are times where I need to, and sometimes like I'll put it in reverse and like it'll grind, like it'll just grind, like, so I can't put it in reverse. I'm like, what the hell? But like it's little things like that I still don't understand. Like I have the clutch all the way in and I'm putting it in reverse at very low gear, so I don't know why it's like grinding. But apart from that, like I understand it pretty much through and through now, which is good. You kind of need to. Like I could probably confidently drive like someone else's manual car now, just because I know my own. Granted, Subaru apparently did make this like somewhat easy to drive. Like it, for those of you that really know cars, like, and if you're really like listening closely, like you can probably hear that it holds the RPM a little bit. Like when you put your foot down on the clutch, it doesn't instantly drop the RPM. Like it holds it just for a split second, kind of. So in that way, it's a little bit easier to drive for new manual drivers. And I guess to some extent that has been kind of spoiling me, because I'm sure if I were to drive like an older manual car, I probably would just suck at it. Oh, great, construction. This is not a good thing, especially if you do drive manual, because you're just going to be tap dancing with the brake and the clutch, or the clutch and the gas. But yeah, I mean, I really do like this car. I really hope to drive it for many, many, many years. I hope to basically drive it till it dies, I think. But I had to do myself a little favor and get it in black, because when my parents bought the Accord, I don't know if you remember that, but one of my gripes about it was that it was gray. The most boring freaking color on the planet. And the other options for this car, like red and blue, they were a little bit extra, but black costed the same price. So I was like, hey, I'll just go for black. And I also said, hey, let me think about this, because let me ensure that this car stays on the lot. So let's get it with a tan interior too, and a manual transmission, and make it a base model. So essentially, right from the beginning, I set this up so that basically like that nobody else would want this car. And whether that was incredibly selfish or smart, I don't really know. I'll find out at some point, maybe at the gates of heaven, maybe St. Peter will be like, Chris, you dickhead. But anyway, this video is running a little long, and I'm stuck in this stupid construction traffic, so I think I'm going to cut it off here. So I will see you guys next